Um, I don't think this is more of a documentary. This is 14 minutes long, so I'll give you guys something to listen to. I don't
Actually,
know if this will
how
be
do
an
I
actual
sign that?
video. Most of these videos, I don't think they're gonna be actual video for obvious reasons, but we'll see.
This is Shuo Sato, a manga author, but was also a manga assistant for nearly 12 years. And it sucked a lot. If we take a look at 1 month of his life working as a manga assistant, we can really see some damning stuff. Here's how many hours he said he worked, here's how much he made from it, and here's how much sleep he said he got.
Oh
And if we
my
put those up
god.
against an average person, we can really understand how absurd this job is. You take on all of the downsides of being a manga author, and then some, while also getting none of the upside. No fame, no recognition, and not an ounce of incentives for the success of the series. So, what's the point? Why ever want to be a manga assistant in the first place?
I
And
won't.
my desire to understand the answer to this question has led me to analyzing over 400 manga authors to create this. But before exploring how there's an actual connection between the godfather of manga, Osamu Tezuka, and my psychotic goat, Tatsuki Fujimoto, we have to talk about what the hell does a manga assistant even do, and why working that job probably isn't what you think it would be. Let's take a look at this manga page. Now, how much of this do you think is drawn by the actual manga author? For this manga, Witch Hat Atelier, the assistants are responsible for the backgrounds, speedlines, and screen tones. Thus, this is roughly what the author does. So when you add the backgrounds, the speedlines, and then the screen tones, you get this entire page. And it's the culmination of multiple people that are responsible for the work you read on a frequent basis. However, only one name is usually credited. There's only one person you recognize for such talented work being made. And I'm not trying to say this to discredit any of the manga author's actual work, because they're the ones telling the story. And they're the ones giving direction to the assistants so that the work they do lives up to the author's own standards. But manga would not be the same without these valuable figures. They are what allows for weekly releases to even be possible, by working constant overtime that mirrors the schedule of the manga authors themselves. However, it's important to note that the work that goes into being an assistant drastically differs from series to series. Comparing what we just learned about the workflow of Witch Hat to one of my favorite manga ever, Vagabond, you would be kind of surprised by how the work is split up. In an interview with Takehiko Inoue, he states that his assistants do everything except for the human figures. So, from this page, Inoue would do about this. And then compare that to someone like Yoshihiro Togashi, who is known for relying on his assistants less than the majority of other authors, and based on what assistants usually do, I can assume Togashi's contributions would be something like this. Yet despite the differences in workload from series to series, there are a handful of common delegations relied upon by assistants. So here's that list. Job 1 is pasting the screen tones. 2 is drawing the backgrounds or crowds. 3 is filling in artwork details. For instance, when stuff was done physically, someone would need to ink in all of the black in, let's say, a suit or a character's hair. Number 4, they might be responsible for including speedlines, lighting, or shading. And finally 5, there are specialty jobs, such as in Innocent by Shinichi Sakamoto. The assistants are to accurately draw the flamboyant clothing and accessories from the French Revolution. Or how about how Go Nagai hired an assistant to draw military vehicles in this. Now if we look at this entire job description, there are really no redeeming aspects. Low pay, horrendous work hours, and the work you actually do is pretty mundane. It lacks the expressive creativity aspiring manga authors usually have. So again, why? How are there any manga assistants at all? Well, in 1985, Tsukasa Hojo started a manga called City Hunter, a quite successful series selling over 50 million volumes worldwide. But maybe more notably is this. Legendary manga author Takehiko Inoue, who created the renowned series Slam Dunk, Vagabond, and Real, spent about a year working as an assistant. Yet, fast forward years down the line, and we have this. Yasuhisa Hara, the creator of potential top 10 manga kingdom, ended up working for 4 months as an assistant to Inoue. And to continue this trend, another legendary manga author, Sui Ishida, worked as an assistant for Hara. Therefore, to understand why anyone would want to be a manga assistant, the answer probably lies within here. See, what you're looking at is the manga author family tree. It denotes the notable relationships of over 150 authors. For instance, the creator of JoJo's, Hirohiko Araki, had 3 notable assistants.
Oh my
The first
god.
is the creator of Erased, Keisanbe. Next is the author of this Shonen Jump manga, Hiroshi Shibashi. And thirdly is the creator of Summertime Rendering, Yasuki Tanaka, who later went on to have the creator of My Hero Academia work under him. And it's this student-mentor relationship that is the driving reason to work as an assistant. And nothing illustrates that fact more than this. If we analyze the 100 most popular manga to find the percent of authors that worked as an assistant prior to finding their own success, you would find about half worked as an assistant. And this is only including information that is readily available. So in my estimation, that percentage is probably a little bit higher. Therefore, this highlights that the purpose of being an assistant has nothing to do with the job itself. The assistant job is just a way to get their foot in the door. It's a launch pad forward to achieving the success of the individuals these people are working for. Because through working as an assistant, they gain that first-hand experience of how to create a serialized manga. They'll be able to pick up on how authors delegate their work, learn what it's like releasing a weekly chapter, and most importantly is testing your ability to just learn from someone already excelling in the field. Which is why someone like Hara could be assigned to work as an assistant while already having a deal finalized for his future series. But how did I make this? How did my random curiosity...
I wonder how the corruption is like. Ever think about that? How the corruption could be wild? I'm not saying there is or isn't, but given if it's human, humans are just innately evil in their own way. So just, Jesus Christ, I can just imagine if you say the one wrong thing. Imagine saying the one wrong thing, you didn't really mean it that way, and it goes left. And your whole career's fucked. Jesus.
Of manga assistants create this elaborate entangled graph. Well, as I learned more about manga assistants, I would slowly figure out who worked for who. And it kept on making me want to ask questions like, which authors were able to gain that knowledge as an assistant to turn it into successful series themselves? Or what about which authors have been able to foster multiple successful disciples? And finally, what strange paths of connecting mangaka can be created from everyone working together? And let's just say that this path right here absolutely blows my mind. But to unravel these questions, let's start over from the very beginning. Let me highlight the most notable connections to build a foundation for the tree. And what better place to start than by looking at the man responsible for pioneering manga, Osamu Tezuka. Tezuka had numerous assistants while creating what is said to be over 700 total series. But these are the most noteworthy ones. First is Leiji Matsumoto, with his most notable work being Captain Harlock. Next is Mitsutaro Yokoyama, who created Giant Robo. Another is Fujio A. Fujiko, who is a part of the manga duo that created Doraemon. The next two are branded with the monikers the King of Manga and the King of Gag Manga. The first being Shotaro Ishinomori, who's responsible for creating this and also Kamen Rider, where he also mentored another amazing author, Go Nagai. Now finally there's Buchi Terasawa, who isn't as recognized for his own manga but creates fascinating connections with more recent manga authors, which in my opinion is the most fascinating part of the graph. Being able to recognize the connecting pathways between legendary authors, such as this one that connects...
Great! It is summertime, guys. Summer is right beyond the corner. These fucking ants.
Osamu Tezuka to the great Kentaro Miura. And to find that path, you would follow Miura, who assisted George Morikawa, the creator of Hajime no Ippo, who then assisted Shuichi Shigeno, the author of Initial D, who assisted Akira Hiro, who assisted Shotaro Ishinomori, who then assisted Osamu Tezuka. But how do we get away from the 60s in a way that is actually able to connect to an author that first released something in the 2020s? Well, there's one artist specifically that facilitates the merging of generations, Takeshi Obata, who despite being able to connect to that earlier period, has been the artist of several notable manga you'll be sure to recognize, such as something even as influential as Death Note, where he's been able to foster prominent assistants that open up a pathway to the rest of the graph. And the first to open up that path forward is Yoshiyuki Nishi, who hasn't really made anything that I personally recognize, but is also connected to the next pillar. The next assistant to work for Obata is who I consider to be the greatest artist in all of manga, Yusuke Murata. He's the one behind the art of Ice Shield 21 and also does One Punch Man. Now the next assistant is Kentaro Yabuki, who made Shonen Jump manga Black Cat, Televeru, and also Darling in the Franxx. While the final notable assistant is Nobuhiro Watsuki, the author of Rurouni Kenshin, who ended up working as an assistant to several mangaka, and also had two sensational authors work under him. The first being Hiroyuki Take, who made Shaman King, and the next being Eiichiro Oda, who just made this super insignificant manga that we don't even gotta talk about. The next pillar of the grinder tree is a little bit different from the previous ones. This is because instead of having several significant assistants working under him, he's been the assistant to so many extraordinary authors. And that man is the creator of Spy Family, Tatsuya Endo. So let me just quickly list off who this guy's been an assistant to. The author of Hell's Paradise, Chainsaw Man, Blue Lock, Attack on Titan, Blue Exorcist, Kono Oto Tomare, and also Yasuhiro Kano, who mentored Gege Akutami, and then finally, the connector from the previous pillar, Yoshiyuki Nishi. Now, these three artists right here are really the foundation that has created all of these massive connections in the graph. Remove what they've created and you're really just left with a couple connections here and there. But trust me, they're still really fascinating. Like this one. The creator of Akira, Katsuhiro Otomo, had two notable assistants. The first one was Satoshi Kon, and if you don't know who that is, he was the director of all of these movies. But then the other guy is Shin Morimura, who had the creator of Vinland Saga as his assistant. Or how about over here? This links the legend Naoki Urasawa to Yoshihiro Togashi, as Naoki Urasawa worked under Toshio Nobe, where he worked under Osamu Akimoto, who had another assistant, Masatoshi Usune. And under Usune, both Togashi's brother and his wife worked as an assistant. See, there are just so many fascinating connections like these throughout all of manga history. Even connections from not as esteemed creators being able to mentor numerous.
You know what this sounds like? Oh god. Do you know what this sounds like to me? This sounds like Naruto. Think about it. Everyone who was Hokage had connections to each other already. Think about that very closely. Everyone who was a Hokage had connections to each other already. Either they was a past student of each other or some former family member.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. That's what this sounds like to me. Everyone was either a former family member or there was a student at one point. So like the first Hokage and then Lady Tsunade. That's his granddaughter. The fourth Hokage and then the seventh Hokage. Fourth Hokage Minato and then the seventh Hokage Naruto. Kakashi is Naruto's former teacher. You know what I'm saying? The second Hokage is the brother of the first Hokage. Everyone is related in some form. The third Hokage is the teacher of Minato. Minato is the previous teacher of Kakashi. You can't win. And if I remember right, wasn't the third Hokage either a former student between the first or second Hokages? If I'm right. Ain't that wild? So everyone that's connected, who's either have major success or just getting, or who's from the Hunter x Hunters to the One Piece to the Vagabonds.
Samurai.
It's everyone's connected. So if you piss off the wrong person, or any of them, and remember, in Japanese culture, it's all about honor and respect. Oh, respecting of the elders too. They bring that into their workforce as well. So if you disrespect an elder in any way of whatever occupation you're in, you are fucked. Oh my god, the ass kissing must be wild.
Great apprentices, such as Takeshi Hinata, who only ever created this, but the assistants that worked on it are some really heavy hitters, such as Toshio Sako, the creator of Usukui. Or here again comes the artist of Blue Lock. Or how about the creator of the recent
what the hell?
Blue Box? And obviously, since it's a story about basketball, a successful assistant is gonna make something with a lot of great stakes and competition, like the creator of Domestic Girlfriend. Now, outside of the main graph, the next largest interweaving connections comes from over here, where the driving force connecting these series is from the creator of Kaiju number 8, because similar to Tatsuya Endo, he worked as an assistant to a couple of significant series, such as on Siren and also this, which opens up more connections to series like Black Clover.
Oh my god! Dude, do you see this? The rabbit hole gets deeper and deeper. The rabbit hole is wild. Piss off any of these people. I bet you you're screwed. Say the wrong thing. I dare you. Samurai. I double dog dare you. Say the wrong fucking thing.
But this is a large, complex graph with a lot of names and series that are getting overlooked. So I want to give you an additional best single connections that haven't really been mentioned so far. And I'll start it off with Aka Akasaka, the man behind both Love is War and Oshinoko, where he worked through Kazuma Kondo, the creator of Dead Man Wonderland. The next one is a manga that I think is super underrated, Blue Giant by Shinichi Ishizuka.
Oh my God.
Ended up working as the assistant to the creator of PTSD Radio. Now, there are also two great psychological manga that are connected, those being I Am Hero and Homunculus. But a connection that is a little more odd is between the creators of Diamond No Ace and Rent a Girlfriend. Also, if you don't know, in my opinion, Tatsuki Fujimoto is a little bit of a modern legend, but my favorite assistant of his is Yukinobu Tatsu, the creator of Dawn to Dawn. Another author who only really makes unreal artwork is Shinichi Sakamoto, where he worked as an assistant to Tatsuya Egawa, the man behind one of the goofiest stories I've ever watched, Golden Boy. However, the last one is a little bit different. Not a traditional author-assistant relationship like the rest.
You can imagine the skeletons in these people's closet. Oh God. This is as worse as, like, I'm not gonna lie to you, this is, as cool as this all sounds, don't get me wrong, it's cool. But when you stop and think about it, think of the shit that the shit these people get away with and do. I won't put past them. I'm not saying these people are terrible or anything. I have no hatred towards them or anything like that. They're very talented individuals. They're talented in their own right. They have great art styles. They tell great stories. But I'm separating the art from the human. Always keep that in mind. Whenever I'm making these type of statements, I'm separating. I'm categorizing based on the subject at hand, not the human, depending on what the subject is. So, like, I'm separating the art is beautiful and great based on all these people's talent and hard work from the actual human being of the behavior itself of what human beings are known to do. Like let's look at Hollywood, for instance. Like, Hollywood is known for a lot of crazy shit, right? We don't hear a lot of things what goes on in the anime industry like that because we're not Japanese and we're not living in that. We don't get news like that. We usually get rarely, and it's usually through Twitter 9 times out of 10, and it's usually misconstrued situations. But, like, just to put in context, like, what type of skeletons do these people have to be all connected like this? They're all connected in some form, from the old heads to the very brand new heads. Like, they are working on shit that it bounces back and forth. It's even hard to not know someone from someone who knows someone that knows that someone. Like, it's really, like, once you're connected to one, you're pretty much connected to all in some form. So, like, that's why I said, watch what happens if you say the wrong thing. You are screwed.
But still maintains a strong connection, and it's between the creators of Baki and Beastars, where the Beastars creator, Paru Itagaki, is actually the daughter of the creator of Baki.
You see what I'm saying?
But ultimately, why did I do this?
Why did you?
It's cool. And my monkey brain just kept on clapping its hands whenever it learned about how such pivotal authors work with one another. And by far the dopest thing I learned from making this is how Osamu Tezuka and Tatsuki Fujimoto are connected to each other via assistance, which is insane if you know anything about the two. One practically invented the modern version of manga, while the other ate his pet goldfish. So if you don't believe that's possible, Here's the pathway. Osamu Tezuka mentored Buchi Terasawa, who guided Shinji Imaizumi, who taught Nobuhiro Watsuki, who aided Takeshi Obata, who oversaw Yoshiyuki Nishi, who advised Tatsuya Endo, who eventually worked for Tatsuki Fujimoto. But besides the fact that I thought all of this was really cool, there's something else about assistants that has weighed on my mind. As I mentioned before, the work of being a manga assistant isn't something to idolize. It's a means to an end to attempt to reach a dream that appears to be right in front of you. But not everyone's able to reach that last step. Just take a look at this. These are all of the assistants I found to be working under Horikoshi for My Hero Academia. And I know I'm probably missing people too, but there are still this many names, all presumably with similar dreams of being a successful mangaka, which is kinda sad. Many will try and not reach the necessary levels of success for independent serialization, which can lead them to working twice as much in a field where you already work twice as much than a typical Western 9 to 5. But without them, we wouldn't be able to consume all of the great stories out there. And if anything, I just want to thank them, recognize them, and understand them a little bit more. Where I hope that all assistants that have aspirations for personal success can find it and become a little dot on a stupid graph made by an idiot who just spent way too much time on it. Thanks for watching. Also, I wanted to give a huge shout out to this Twitter account. They did something similar years back, and it was a great point of reference, so check them out.
Alright, so with that said, like, subscribe, share, fail, comment. That was an interesting video. Pretty good, and very shocking at the same time. So with that said, like, subscribe, share, follow, and comment. All great stuff, guys. I'm going to end it from here. I was going to do VR chat on stream, but it's already 8, and I'll just deal with the Airy off stream. I wanted to do it on stream, but you know, took too long and I talked too much, yacked too much. So with that said, have a great night, guys. I'll let you guys go. Thank you, Brian, for coming in and all that great stuff. Tomorrow we might just play game. I think I might just play some game tomorrow. I might do some artwork. I don't know. We'll see. I really doubt it, because since I'm not on TikTok, and that's where most people know why I'm alive. So I'm gonna probably play some game tomorrow.
Raiga Samurai. Good night, everyone.
All right, have a good night, Bri. Thank you for guys coming in. Thank you, Grant, everyone, all that great stuff.
Raiga Samurai.
I am out.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, there you guys.